Good afternoon and welcome to the Brazos River Authority's Brown Bag on the Brazos. I'm Judy Pierce, Public Information Officer for the Brazos River Authority, and your host for today's virtual town hall meeting. We have an interesting lineup of guests for you today. We'll be talking about a few things you should know before heading out to the lake this summer with Lake Granbury Project Manager Kyle Lewis, including the best way to keep your kids safe this summer. And if you've lived anywhere in Texas over the past month, you've probably noticed we've had a bit of rain. And like many people that have been concerned about flooding in your area, you may like to learn a little bit more about how to learn about flooding. We'll also talk with our Assistant Public Information Officer, Charlie Schugert, who's going to tell us a little bit about keeping up with flooding in your area. And then we'll hear from Aaron Abel, our Water Services Manager, who will fill us in on what all that rain has done for easing the drought and what we might be able to expect for the summer months. And then, as always, we'll answer your questions at the end of our presentation. So before we jump in, let's talk a little housekeeping. Part of the purpose of us being here today is to allow you to ask questions of the BRA. So at any time during the presentation, you can ask a question by typing it into the chat function. You will find that icon in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. And if we don't get to your question, you can send us a question by email to information@brazos.org and we'll respond to you in writing. So welcome, Kyle Lewis. We're happy to have you here today to talk to us a little bit about safety.
We are glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's going to be a very busy summer. We have water-filled lakes, and we're very excited about that.
Absolutely.
But first, during our last town hall meeting, we discussed our 6th annual Water Safety Awareness Day.
Yes.
That was held at the beginning of May. So tell us a little bit about what that was.
Water safety, we have our annual Water Safety Awareness Day. What we do, we get a lot of entities around Hood County and Somerville County. We'll have the Texas Parks and Wildlife or game wardens will come in, Dinosaur Valley State Park, Red Cross, Upper Trinity Groundwater Conservation District, our water services team from Waco. We get all these folks together, and the main purpose of this is we have a goal of trying to save lives. We want to educate the public on anything water safety, anything water related. The main reason that we do this is to give as many life jackets away to kids as we can. We buy 300 life jackets every year. It was kind of cloudy, a little drizzly. I mean, it never really rained, but it was just kind of some soupy weather. But the kids caught a lot of fish. We had a kid fish that day as well. So kids caught a lot of fish. We have fire departments coming out, power line safety groups. All these groups get together, but we try to get all these activities to educate the public on things water. But the main goal is we want to give life jackets away to kids.
Okay, and we're showing a little bit of that right now.
Yeah, exactly. And even with the cloudy conditions, the drizzle and all that, we still gave away 138 life jackets during the event. So it's better than nothing for a drizzly day. But like I said, since then we've given away some at our lake office, and we'll do that again before the 4th of July. So we've got leftover jackets we're still giving out as kids need it. So
that's wonderful.
So the main goal, like I say, drowning. Life jackets save lives. And it's like a seatbelt in a car. The unintentional drowning is a leading cause of unintentional death from children 1 to 4. And the second leading cause of unintentional death for children from 1 to 14. So anytime we can educate parents, I mean, drowning doesn't discriminate.
Right.
It doesn't care what social class you're from. It don't care what side of town you live on. Yeah, and unfortunately, and it's a tragic accident, and the drowning rate for teenagers at 15 and up, it triples. They get to that invincible level, man, I'm rough and tough, I can do anything, and take those chances. And so educating these kids that you see a swimming pool, you see in the bottom of the pool, it's clear, you know how deep it is. In a lake or river, you can't see what's under that water. You don't know if a recent flood event has brought new material in or new logs in to get hurt on, or maybe washed out an area that could have been avoided. I mean, it was solid ground one time, and all of a sudden water come in and take some dirt out, and there's a drop off you don't realize. So, like I say, and
very often parents are there at the time that this happens.
A very sad statistic with drowning is 88% of the time drownings happen with child drowning happen with at least one adult present.
It's just
it's just simple things that we talk about. We have our water watcher tags. When at the event, we also give these water watcher tags away to parents, tell them that if you have a group of kids around a swimming pool or a lake party, you have one person who is focused on the kids. I mean, you have the tag on it, reminds you that, okay, I don't have my phone out. I'm not in conversation. I mean, my eyes are watching kids. And we
Right.
tell parents, you got a group parent, 15 minutes, you're, okay, you swap off with someone else. You can go join the party, 15 minutes, someone else comes in. And it's just our one little way of reminder that, okay, I'm on duty. If somebody wants to come up and talk to you, hey, I'm watching kids, we'll chat in a minute. So just making sure that they're there.
Right.
A lot of places around Granbury, they've got boat docks,
Mm-hmm.
swimming pools. I mean, make sure your gates are locked.
Right.
Make sure that if it's a kiddie pool in the yard, you've been out in a kiddie pool with a toddler, make sure when you leave it's drained. And so because 70% of childhood drownings occur during what we classify as non-swim times. You didn't intend for the child to go into the water. You didn't intend for them to go back to the kiddie pool or walk down the dock and maybe stumble and
Right.
fall in. So
It happens.
just a lot of common sense measure, a lot of things happen, and life jackets is a big part of our safety measure, our push to you get something for free, we want to talk safety. So
make sure the kids wear life jackets.
absolutely, anytime you're around open water, a
Right.
lake or river, I mean, you should have a life jacket on.
Okay.
I've had a parent tell me, well, my kid can swim. Okay, great, but you know what's in that lake? Can you see out there to see if there's anything they might snag on or something?
Right.
So put a life jacket on, just err on the side of caution.
Okay. So, but also as far as wearing the life jacket, you want to make sure it's the right, proper fitting life
Make
jacket.
sure it's fitted
Okay.
properly. That's a very important.
And that's one of the things that we did at that event was make sure
Absolutely.
that they got one, but it also fit.
Absolutely. Life
So-
jackets are rated a size. You have
Okay.
your infant, you have your toddler size jackets, which up to a 20-pound child, but it actually has a floating headrest. And they're designed to where there's no flotation in the back where if a toddler falls in or a child that can't hardly walk,
Right.
the weight of the baby will roll the baby over to where the head is up, the headrest to keep their head out of the water. So they're designed that way. The next size up is a 30 to 50-pound life jacket for young kids. And you have the 50 to 90-pound range.
Okay.
And then they go from 90 pounds and up. And 90 pounds and up, you go from a small size for like a teenager or a younger lady on up to the extra large or double extra large. But they're all, always make sure your life jackets are Coast Guard approved.
Okay.
A lot of the swimming pool floaties and things like that, I mean, they're neat for a pool, but they're not a Coast Guard approved product. So make sure that, because if they're Coast Guard approved, they've been tested by Underwater Laboratories, they've been through the testing to make sure that they're going to function. So
Okay. Well, we have a special guest today,
absolutely.
Hannon Kettler, and he's going to show us a little bit about the right type of life jacket you can wear.
Absolutely. A lot of parents will like to buy kids shoes or a pair of pants that's a little bit big, you tighten your belt and you get into it. We don't want to do that with a life jacket. We want to actually make sure that we have the right size jacket, because you buy a jacket, okay, he'll grow into just by the end of summer or by next year. And you get it buckled up, don't buckle it up, buddy. There you go. And oops, we got it wrong. That's all right. We'll manage. So you get it, even if you get it buckled up, which we always recommend you have your jackets buckled up. You go to jump into the water, and what's going to happen? You jump in, you throw your hands up in the air, and boom. Is that going to work? No, it may look cool, it's not going to work. So what we want to do is we want to make sure the right side jacket, this jacket here is a 50 to 90-pound range. We won't tell your weight, but you're in the 50 to 90-pound range. So what you want to do is always make sure you buckle your jackets on these kiddos. Make sure they're buckled, make sure the buckles are tight. You want it good and snug. You just almost want them to complain. It's just a little tight. Well, that's when you want it. Because a lot of times when they get in the water, things will start readjusting and then the jacket will come up loose. So after they've been in the water a little bit, readjust it. Pull them out, readjust it. But then when you do that, you want to keep it below their ears. Their head's still out of the water. They're safe and snug and secured. And he goes out and swims for 10, 15 minutes. Hey, come here real quick. Let's readjust. Let's make sure that you're still good and snug and nothing's given away.
And they're all adjustable so that they
All
can give a
adjustable.
little bit
They have
size.
adjustments, and like I said, they all come with the warning labels and the informational tags that These are just always adjustable. You can go up more. This one's almost to the end of the cycle for size wise, but it still fits good. And if mom was at her to give it real good pull, that'd be a little snugger, but that would be a great fit for you. So
Perfect.
good job.
All right. Well, Hannon, thank you for helping us learn how to do that.
Absolutely.
And thank you for being here for our model today.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, we're
Have a
going to
fun
talk
time.
about some other things. And we appreciate you all coming today. Thank you very much for being here. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about life jackets. Let's talk about some other things to be aware of during the summer. So one of the things that we're concerned about on all of our BRA lakes is what we call watch your wake.
Absolutely.
So what we're showing right now is some pictures of boats creating wakes. It's just a normal part of driving a watercraft on the lake is creating the waves that come behind it. So that's
anytime your boat is on plane, anytime your boat is coming up on plane, you're going to create a wake.
Okay, and people obviously do that on purpose because they want to ski behind a boat.
Yes.
That's part of the fun, or they may be wanting to tube.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times wakes can cause damage. So tell us about why we would be concerned about wakes.
A wake can be very damaging to a lot of things. And the first and foremost, our lakes, we require any vessel to be at least a minimum of 100 feet from any dock structure shoreline before they get up on plane. So
Okay, and why is that?
Your wake spreads out. Our lakes are basically, they're dammed up rivers. In a lot of places, they're not
They're
very
very
wide.
narrow. Yeah.
They're very narrow. So staying further from the shoreline increases your chance of the wake having time to disperse before you get to a shoreline where boats are stored in a dock,
Right.
or even erosion on a shoreline. A wake is the big swell of water that comes off, and it's just a wave. I mean, it's just a rolling wave that comes across the lake.
Right.
If it hits another boat, if it hits a floating dock, if it hits, it can damage property if you're too close. An unprotected shoreline.
Right.
It just, I mean, we can't control what Mother Nature does when it runs water and flooding and things like that. But what we can control is man-made events where a wake, if you're too close to a shoreline, the continuous erosion of the wave hitting, if you're going back and forth in one certain area, which a lot of the wakeboard guys want to, not or even any boats. You know, like you said, the wakeboard boats, I'm not picking on them. I mean, it's a fun sport. It's really cool how something they do on a wakeboard. But a lot of them will have extra weight in their boat to throw a bigger swell so they can wait. We just
But even
get further away from the
PWCs can
shore.
do it. Yeah.
Yep.
PWCs can also do a
PWC
smaller
can do it as
wake.
well.
Okay.
And your
All right.
bigger wake is when you're slowing down
Right.
or taking off. So you're slowing down, we call it plowing. You're drop down, getting slow. That's going to push a big swell of water out from your boat. So
Right.
like I said, we just encourage you to enjoy the lakes, just scoot out a little bit further from the shoreline, at least a minimum of 100
100
feet.
feet from docks and from
Dock-
marinas,
Dock structure, shorelines, marinas,
other boats.
other boats. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, great. So there are areas on the lake where it could be very dangerous to have a wake. So we call those no wake areas.
Absolutely.
Correct. Okay. So I'm going to show a picture. This is you'll see I have a picture in picture there is one of our buoys out on the lake,
Yes.
and it says slow no wake.
No wake.
And we're showing a boat there that has a very small wake
Yes.
behind it.
That boat is at no wake speed. We consider that no wake speed. There's no water coming out from inside the vessel. You're going to have your normal ripple, but there's no really a big swell or anything coming out of the boat. It's at idle speed.
Okay. So are there a lot of no wake areas on the lakes?
There's a lot, all the bridges on our lakes are no wake zones. Almost all of the canals, I think all of the canals are no wake zones on our lake.
Mhm.
Some of the other open areas where you're feeding into a canal, the no wake zone will start there. Around all of our boat ramps are no wake zones.
Some of the bridges as
The
well.
bridges, yes, ma'am,
Okay.
all the bridges are no wake zones as
Okay.
well. So
So that just means that for everyone's safety, you need to slow down
Yes.
enough.
before you get to the buoy, not after you go under the buoy and then slow down. So
Right.
you slow down before you get to that buoy, and when you hit that buoy line, you're to be at idle speed.
Okay, so people should know what those buoys look like
Yes,
and make sure that they have actually slowed down before they get to that buoy.
yes, absolutely.
Okay. And then when they pass the other side, they can then speed
They
up
can
again.
feed back up,
Okay,
yes.
great. So what happens if you're not, or if you are creating a wake within a no wake zone?
It could be expensive.
Okay, how
Yes, you would-
expensive are we talking?
You're looking at possibly up to a $500 fine. It is a citation, it is a title offense. Our lake rangers will enforce those laws. Our Texas Parks and Wildlife Game Board, they enforce those rules and regulations as well, those laws as well. So
Okay,
it can be a citation that will land you a trip to meet a judge.
okay, goodness.
We'd rather, I mean,
We don't want to
we
do
want
that.
to educate, we want
Right.
to, we understand it's, the bridges are for their safety. If you're
Right.
going too fast under a bridge and you have to do invasive action for someone else going, it's a safety factor at the bridges.
Absolutely.
But, and then when you're looking at the erosion problems as well. So, and the safety for marinas and other people around. So,
Right, especially other people in boats that may be thrown off.
correct, smaller boats,
So,
low profile, smaller boats. If you're throwing a big swell, the swell can come in actually washing behind their boat. I've actually seen boats that have got swamped from wakes at times that would just
people being injured because of
Yes.
that. Okay,
and
yeah.
property damage. So yes,
Well, we want to make sure that that doesn't happen. So please
Absolutely.
remember, we've put up these signs at most of our boat ramps that
Yes.
to help remind you if you're taking your boat out,
Yes.
watch your wake while you're out
enjoy
there.
the lake and observe the buoys.
Just be careful while you're out there. Okay. So one of the things that we hear about quite a bit during the summer, people will call in and say, "Hey, I got pulled over." And you know, it's pretty much like getting pulled over by a police officer when you're driving a car.
It is
It's very similar.
very simple.
So tell us why our lake rangers or perhaps the Texas Parks and Wildlife Game Warden or a county sheriff might pull you over on the
Yeah.
water.
Under the Texas Water Safety Act, law enforcement officers who are also certified as marine safety enforcement officers, they have the right to stop, board, and inspect any vessel at any time. We selectively choose when we're going to stop you. We don't want to catch somebody that's on a plane. We wait till you're stopped somewhere or turning I mean, we don't just stop you just because.
Mhm.
But the main reason we stop you is it's an inspection. It's an inspection of your boat. We want to make sure that you have the proper number of life jackets on the boat. That is key. Having number of life jackets on a boat. Make sure you have the appropriate size life jackets. I mean,
Okay. So we have some pictures here that kind of show some of the things that
There you go.
are
Absolutely.
required. So you can see people
Absolutely.
wearing different sizes of life jackets.
Yes, life jackets on a boat. If you're 12 and under, you're required to have a life jacket on a boat.
So children are required
Yes.
to have it while they're on the boat.
12 years
Okay.
of age and under,
Okay,
or if anyone that's operating a PWC. is
okay,
required to have a
that's
life
good to
jacket.
know.
Yes, so they're required to have a life jacket on board. Life jackets on the boat, you got to make sure they're one that will fit each person on that boat. So you won't want a child-sized life jacket for a grown man.
Right,
It just
Right.
got to be an appropriate size jacket.
okay,
The inflatable life jackets are really great. They're really good to have on, really comfortable. They do not count as your life jackets count unless you're wearing it. You have to actually wear the inflatable for it to count as your life jacket total. So
Okay.
it has to be worn,
okay.
and they're not allowed on PWCs because they are.
The inflatable ones are
the
not.
inflatables are not required
Okay.
on PWC.
Okay,
They're designed that when they get wet, they're going to inflate, and
right.
99.5% on the PWC, you're going to
You're
get
gonna
wet.
get wet,
That's kind of
right.
the purpose of them. So
Okay,
make sure your life jacket's on, make sure that you're required to have what's called a Type 4. It's a throwable life jacket.
okay.
Like-
So that in our picture up there, it's kind of that orange circle
Yeah,
there.
it could be a
Okay,
buoy, it could be a square. A lot of people have them as a seat cushion, the
okay,
buoys. Any boat that's over 16 feet is required to have one of those.
okay,
And all of these items, all these life jackets are required to be Coast Guard approved.
okay.
So make sure they're Coast Guard approved life jackets, because there are some knockoffs out there that are made and they're not Coast Guard approved. So
How do you know if it's Coast Guard
you
approved?
need to read the label inside the jacket.
There
It'll
is
be
a
very
label.
obvious inside the jacket.
Okay.
It'll say it's Coast Guard approved, under laboratories tested. So
Okay.
it's always inside the label, inside the back of the vest, or on the side of the
Okay.
vest. So
Good deal.
you have to read that. We look for a certificate of number card. There's a little card that comes with you. It's your TX number, your boat registered. You're required to have. It shows the boat of the owner, matches the whole number on the boat.
So that's the
and
number on the side of the
registration number,
boat,
the
the
number on the side of the
registration.
boat,
Okay,
yes.
great.
We look at that because there's over 4,500 boats in the US stolen every year.
Oh, wow.
So that's how we can verify if this boat, I mean, how you may have bought it from a friend or somebody marketplace or somewhere. You get the boat, you get on the lake, we look at the certificate number card. and it may have been stolen somewhere. So we
Okay.
always check that.
So they need to have the numbers on the boat as well as having the card with them.
Yes, numbers
card
on the
has to be
boat.
with them. Okay,
We see a lot of boats with the TX numbers in a real pretty script and match the boats. Unfortunately, you can have it pretty. The
okay,
state law requires your TX numbers on the boat to be a 3-inch block letter of contrasting colors.
okay,
So if you have a red boat, you can't have a dark red or maroon or black. It's got to be a contrasting color, but it's got to be a 3-inch block letter on some of your
Okay.
boats. So, and a contrasting color to your boat. So a red boat would be better with a white sticker, or a black boat with a white sticker or something. That
Sure.
contrast makes it easier to see.
okay.
So,
What else do we have up there?
some type of fire extinguisher.
Okay,
Or you have to have a fire extinguisher on a boat is crucial, more especially if you have an inboard boat with inboard gas storage. Make sure your fire extinguisher's on there.
okay,
And that kind of brings back to another one about life jackets. When you store your life jackets on your boats, I've kind of,
Yeah,
I
that's
forgot
okay.
that part, but a lot of people want to have their life jacket stored in the biggest compartment, which a lot of times is back by the engine.
right,
When you get a fire, where's the fire going to start the boat?
in the engine.
First thing, you got to burn your jackets.
Right,
And you got to make sure your jackets are readily available. You can't have stuff in bags.
right,
They need to be readily available to get to quick. So
okay,
make sure your life jacket don't throw by in, but your fire extinguisher is for your vessel. You're required to have one on a PWC. Everybody said, what about your fire extinguisher PWC is as much for your PWC, but it's also 9 times out of 10 PWCs are riding in pairs.
right,
So if your buddy has trouble, you use your fire extinguisher to help put out his unit versus him. So
and they need to be size appropriate for the size of the vessel.
yes, they need to be the proper type B or whatever for fuel.
Okay,
So
great.
the proper type.
What about the sound producing
Yes,
device?
sound
We've got some
producing.
big horns up there and then
Absolutely.
we have a whistle too. So, what-
Absolutely. State
what's the
law
reason?
requires you to have a mechanical sound producing device. It could be
okay,
a bell, it could be a whistle, it could be a horn, it
okay,
has to be a mechanical device. Some people say, I can whistle, they'll
yes,
and just make your ears ring, but that's neat. That's not the mechanical.
it's
So if you're in
mechanical.
the water and you're struggling, it's kind of hard to
to-
put your finger up
whistle.
and blow. So
Okay.
sometimes mechanical sound producing device.
So it's something as simple as a whistle, like
It's
the
simple
one
as
on
a
the,
whistle.
on
We
the
keep-
bracelet there.
We'll keep them on our boats and give them
Okay.
to people if they need one, if they get in the bind and don't have one.
Okay,
Kill switch lanyard, always been required on PWCs. They're
right,
now required on boats. Cayley's law come into effect. Unfortunately, it takes a tragedy to get a law passed, but having a lanyard on your
Mhm.
wrist when you're operating a boat is so critical. If you hit a rogue wave, or if you turn too sharp and hit, and
And
there's
it
so many
throws
factors
you off.
that you can be thrown out.
okay,
That kill switch lanyard actually will kill your boat and your boat will stop. If
right.
not, the boat will just start turning in a circle
And could hit you
and
while
it
you're on
can
the
come
water.
and hit you, and rope propellers are very unforgiving.
Okay, and I see also a rearview mirror up there.
Yes, if you're skiing or towing a skier, you're required to have a mirror, at least, I think it's 4x4 minimum dimensions. Spotters are always better.
Okay,
So, because if you're looking at a mirror, you're not looking where you're going. And if
Exactly.
you're looking where you're going, you're not looking to the mirror, but
so you can have a
you can have a
spotter
spotter or a mirror. You can have
okay.
one or both, but
Okay,
a mirror is a legal option as well for
okay.
someone that's on PWC or things.
Well, and I know too that it's gotten to be really popular on some lakes that we have nighttime parades
Absolutely.
or 4th of July celebrations to go see the fireworks. So lights are also required.
Lights are required anytime from sunset. You must have your lights on until sunrise.
Okay,
You're required to have your lights on, your navigation light, your red light, your green light. Your boat is required to have a white 360 light
mhm,
that can be seen. If you're not traveling, if you're at anchor, then you need your navigation lights off, your red and blue lights off, and just have your white light
have your
on.
white, okay,
Same thing with the kayak. If you're on the lake at night in a kayak or a canoe, you want at least one white 360 light on that vessel as well. So,
okay. So it doesn't necessarily, on something like a kayak, it doesn't have to be built-in lights. It can be
you know, it
something,
can be
like
something add-on.
lantern.
It just have to be visible.
That can be
I think it's up to 2 miles.
Okay,
So
All
I think
right.
it's the distance. So but yes,
good to know. Well, then
Absolutely.
make sure that before you head out, that you're going to have all the safety items that you need to have
Absolutely.
on that boat. So Most people go to the lake to party.
People go
And
like
a
the
lot of
party.
times, adult beverages aren't involved there. So
Absolutely.
tell us a little bit about voting while intoxicated.
Voting while intoxicated is the same punishment, the same laws basically as driving while intoxicated. You're required to give a specimen of your breath. If you refuse to, you can have your license suspended. The punishments are just the same. It can be, first year can be up to $2,000 fine, not to exceed 180 days in jail. It's just,
A lot.
and it just goes up. Second
It's-
conviction, third conviction can be a felony.
My
So,
goodness.
I mean, lake is a fun place to go. But it's just, like I said, you just have to just be responsible. I mean, have a designated driver anywhere you go.
So designated driver on a boat is just the same as in a car,
Absolutely,
you know, so
absolutely.
people on a boat can have alcoholic
They
beverages
can have alcohol.
as long as it's not the captain of the boat.
They
Is
can,
that
they
correct?
can have alcoholic beverages. They, like I say, they can consume. The open container law, as the last update, did not apply to a boat, but you have to have you need a designated driver.
Okay, so open containers, okay, designated drivers, a definite.
Definite must.
Okay, great,
Definite must.
wonderful. Well, Kyle, thank you so much for taking the
Yeah,
time to
thank you
come
for
out and
having
talk to
me.
us
Enjoyed it.
today. We
Absolutely.
appreciate especially the demonstration because keeping that life jacket on your child is probably the most important
That's the
thing you
hardest
can do
thing.
for them this
They get
summer.
uncomfortable, they claim they're hot, they're uncomfortable, but if they're complaining that it's a little bit tight, I mean, it's a good fit. You just
It
want
is.
I mean, a little child that it's too hard to get them to the grown up point.
It
with-
is.
There's so many things, so we just got to watch them all the time. It doesn't mean someone's a bad parent. It just means it's just a tragic accident that happens. And we just want to help bring little things that you may not think about to your mind, thinking, oh yeah, and just like I say, just keep them
keep it.
alive, keep them healthy, and
And
have a fun
we
time.
have some of these reminder cards for
Abs-
parents if they'd like
we
to
do. We
get
have
one.
these at our lake offices.
Yep.
I know Possum Kingdom I know I have them at Granbury. I know the Possum Kingdom office has some. We will be glad to give you some of these if you want to come out and see us. Be more than glad to give you some of these.
And people can request them by sending us an email at information@brazos.org and we'd be happy to drop one in the mail for you.
Absolutely.
Well, Kyle, thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you
Thanks for
very
having us
We
today.
appreciate the time.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, we're going to move on to the next subject here. Everybody's here. All right. So our next guest is Charlie Schubert. She's our Assistant Public Information Officer for the Brazos River Authority. And she's going to be talking a little bit about what we call Brazos Basin Now. And I'm going to get over here so Charlie can show you a bit of a demo. Okay, so tell us, Charlie, tell us about what Brazos Basin Now is and what it does.
Yeah, so the BRA put Brazos Basin Now together around 2018 to make it a simple way for the public to come in and check out the different information that we have available. This information is pulled from multiple different agencies, but it's meant for the public to be able to get on and simply find some data they may be looking for.
So what kind of data would they be looking for? Why would they need the information, or what situation would they be in?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's three main areas. We have the stream flow of the river near you. We have reservoirs, which talks about percent capacity. If you're wondering, is my lake full, or is the lake full that I want to go recreation on this weekend, you can take a look there. And rainfall, which a lot of people love to get on and see how much has it rained in my area. Did it rain at the lake? So this is an easy way to kind of view all that information.
Okay. So if I was wanting to go out on the river, it's very popular now to go out to the area just below Possum Kingdom Lake to canoe or kayak. So how would I find out if that was a good time to go by using this service?
Yeah, so always, if you're going to go below Possum Kingdom Lake, feel free to call our office and check on potential gate releases. Always feel free to do that. But here on the screen, you'll see we have a section called Stream Flow. Underneath it are options to view the upper basin, the central basin, and the lower basin. If you're not really sure where you're at, or you'd like to see the map as a whole, just click on the box. It will bring up the whole basin for you to be able to view. So what you're looking at here is the full length of the Brazos River Basin, which stretches from the Texas-New Mexico border all the way down to the Gulf. Zoom in a little bit so you can see it a little better. So each one of these green dots is a USGS gauge, and the number that you're seeing beside it is the stream flow in cubic feet per second. So right here, we're seeing at the Bosque River at Hillco is 98.6 CFS. Down here in the Waco area, we've got 13,600. Let's see, down here in Rocherin, we've got 46,400 CFS.
Okay, so I probably don't want to canoe at 46,000 CFS.
No.
So I know we've had this question asked a good number of times, depending on how good of a canoeer you are, how much experience you have, or kayaker. We've had people ask that question, what's safe? And that's hard to say for each person.
Yeah, everyone has a different skill level, obviously. And you don't want it to be too low, otherwise you're just going to be carrying the canoe or the kayak down the river.
And we see that sometimes at, say, 100 CFS.
Right. You're looking at 200 to 500 is what I've heard a lot of recreational experts say that have done it more than I have done it. So that's quite a difference from 46,400 CFS.
Very, very dangerous time to be on the river. And I know we tell people if we're currently releasing water from our reservoirs, if we're in flood operations, we recommend that they not try recreation at that point because it is quite dangerous. And then just normal river flows from rainfall can cause the 45,000 CFS to occur. Right, as well. So it's a good idea to check this out before you go out for any type of recreation, even if you're just bank fishing.
Yeah, absolutely. This is updated constantly, so you can check on it in the morning before you're about to head out to do something, right as you're walking out the door, throughout the day. This information is here and available for you to use.
Okay, so what else do each of these green dots show us?
Yeah, so when you hover over one of the green dots, you'll see the name on it, which is your location based. So this is the Brazos River near Rocherin. If you click on the green dots, it's going to pull up additional information. So right now, what you're looking at is how the stream flow has changed over the past couple days. And so big picture, it's kind of hard to see what exactly that means in terms of the amount of stream flow that's having.
Okay.
So you're actually able to click on the stream flow button right here. And it's going to bring you to a larger map that allows you up in this corner to adjust the time frame in which you want to review the stream flow in that particular area. So you'll see where we're at right here is much different than where we were a month ago.
So we're looking at a month there. So it started at around 10,000 cubic feet per second.
Mm-hmm.
And this is showing all the rain that we've had over that month period.
Yeah, this is a good example of the amount of rain that has happened not only in that area, but upstream that has traveled down to the Rocherin area.
And then at the top, what is that telling us? The blue, green, and yellow.
Some of the different CFS levels for here. If you actually scroll down a little and you are real interested in the data, and it has it broken down by every 15 minutes. Okay. And you have the option to download that data if that is something if you are really familiar with this river in your area and you know if the river is at a certain height, what is good for you or not good for you, got the data there for you, which is great. Kind of great to see. So let's go back to the main page of Brazos Basin now. Our next block here is reservoirs. Let's check out percent capacity. So from here, what you're looking at is the 11 reservoirs in the BRA water supply system. Okay. So there are other lakes in this area, but what we're focused on are these 11 lakes that supply the water throughout the Brazos River Basin to everybody. Let's zoom in to, let's say, Possum Kingdom Lake. Right here, you'll see the lake is 100% full. We're all very excited about that. The recent rains. We can move a little downriver and see Lake Granbury is hovering around that much as well. And if you zoom out to the Little River system, you will see this is a part of the basin that has not received the amount of rain that the rest of the Brazos River Basin has.
And this is Lake Proctor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's
at 55% full.
It's lower and similar to the stream flow box. You can click on these dots and it will give you an idea of how this has fluctuated.
Okay.
This looks like it's fluctuated a lot, but this is 56 and this is 55. These are very, very close numbers. Yeah. So it also has the capability to allow you to adjust the time frame. So you have a better look of how that has changed. And of course, we're thankful the rain has made a big difference here at Lake Proctor.
30% to 55% just in the last month.
Which is incredible. And we're very thankful for.
Very thankful.
So going back to this area, let's come down here to Lake Limestone. So say you're looking at this and you're looking at how high the lake is and you want to swap over to, here we go, to see it kind of in a more graph format. The little green flag there on the button allows you to get more of a visual representation of the information, depending on how you like to absorb information. Our rainfall square is very similar to the rest of the boxes.
Okay.
One of the great things about Brazos Basin now is you can access the information in more ways than I'm just showing you. There are multiple ways to find the information on here, which is just a great thing about this website. Again, you see a map of the Brazos River Basin and the USGS gauges that are along this area. So what you're looking at right now, you're like, where are the numbers, right?
Right.
The other maps had numbers on them. Well, if you'll see in the top left corner, it's giving you an idea of when it's calculating the rain amount. So here we're looking at how much it's rained in the past 30 minutes.
And we're actually seeing NOAA radar there. Is that correct?
That's correct. So it obviously hasn't accumulated much right now. So what you're able to do is go to the right part of the screen and click on sensors. And from here, you can change it to when you would like to see how much it's rained, whether it's the past hour, the past 6 hours, or, you know, maybe over the past 72 hours. So here we see the numbers generating because we've all been getting, well, most of the basin has been getting rain recently. Yeah. And again, how I mentioned that you can access some of the same information from different areas. Again, under sensor type, you can switch it right over to Streamflow. So if you're trying to compare the rain, the lake level, Streamflow, it's all over here able for you to view, to be able to see from here.
Great. Okay, well, I know that that we've had, you know, with so much rain in the basin over the last month, we've had a lot of people calling in and asking about, is it going to flood in my area? And it's difficult to say for every single address in the basin, but we can give people an idea of if there is potential flooding in their area by at least getting them close to one of these gauges that the USGS provides out there. So can you show us, if someone was interested in learning about flooding in their area, how would they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to go back to our Streamflow box here. And you're going to want to zoom into the area that's closest to you. So let's just pick Rosharon right here. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on the green square again. And there is a what looks like a picture icon right here. It's second to the left. That brings up a graph for you to see. And so what you're looking at here is the West Gulf River Forecast Center prediction for the stream flow in the coming days. So while we saw how it had changed the days before, this will actually show you how they're predicting that stream flow will change over the next couple of days. And what's great about these graphs here is the different colors you're seeing are the different flood level actions that the National Weather Service considers. So you'll see here, once we hit the yellow area, they consider this the action stage. Minor area is orange, and then major is red. So it helps give you kind of a look as to what's coming. If you have plans for the weekend, or you need to make plans at home or anything of that nature.
So what this one is showing us is that that it was an action stage, and they're expecting, or they're predicting, that the water level will continue to go down rather than up.
Yeah.
But if we were in a heavy rain situation or a heavy flood situation, you might be able to see a prediction going upward rather than downward, and you would know whether or not you need to take some actions about evacuating or moving things to higher ground. For instance, if you're close to the river, you might move some farm equipment or cattle out of that area. Okay.
Yeah. If you click out of this box, there is another icon here that kind of looks like chat bubbles. Is
Right.
how I would describe them. And this will take you directly to the West Gulf River Forecast Center page. And it has the same information in terms of the graph. You can get a better view of exactly how many feet it hits to hit these different flood levels. But it also gives you a little perspective. So if you zoom down a little, you can see some of the recent crest as well as historic crest for this entire area. So you're thinking, I don't think it got this high last year, or this is the highest I've ever seen it. You can actually find that information on here, which is, they just have lots of great information for what it is you might be looking for.
Wonderful. Well, what else does Brazos Basin now show us?
Well, let's see how I can get back there. There we go. Nope.
Yeah, there you go. We're sharing our screen.
Here. There we go.
There we go. Okay.
So you don't have to memorize everything I just told you.
Right.
So this video will be back up on our YouTube page as well as our website. So if you want to go back and watch it, there it is. But also, if you just scroll down on this page, we have a click here for help. And here are pretty much the basics to everything that we just talked about.
Okay.
I'm working through here. Now, if you get on here and you are just stuck, or you can't find what it is you're looking for, just need some help, please feel free to reach out. You can email us at information@brazos.org, and we're more than happy to help you find this information.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for sharing that with us. We're hoping that we don't have any more imminent flooding coming, but you never know for the summer. And, hopefully this will be a good tool for everyone that's been out there.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for taking the time to come and talk with us. We'll get back to our presentation. Okay, so our next guest today is Aaron Abel. He's a regular with our Brazos Basin Now program. And we're going to talk about this very crazy month. So we've been in a pretty dramatic drought up until now. And starting toward the end of April, it started to rain. And we've had some major changes since then.
Yeah.
So, can you give us an idea? Are we still in drought?
So for most areas of the basin are out of drought. And, this is a graphic that we show, we update weekly, and we've shown at multiple brown bags in the past. But one thing that you'll notice is there's not any bright boxes and colors around most of the reservoirs, which indicates, certain drought stages. So, obviously the height of the columns is representative of the amount of water that is stored in each of the different reservoirs. So this is the 11 reservoirs within the Brazos water supply system. And the white is empty storage, which you don't see very much of.
There's not much white now.
You do
It
see,
used to be mostly white.
and a lot of it was mostly white, it's particularly in the Little River system, earlier this year and late last year. So most of the reservoirs are full, or in the case of the Corps of Engineer reservoirs that are multi-purpose flood control and water supply reservoirs, they're storing enormous amounts of flood water within the flood pool, which is above the normal pool elevation of those reservoirs.
So we're seeing there in the percent full at the upper right-hand corner,
Yeah.
when we're looking at the white numbers, we can see, like, for instance, Lake Stillhouse Hollow is 149%.
Yeah, so that is exactly, so take Lake Belton, for instance.
Okay.
It's when it is full at top of conservation, it stores about 433,000 acre feet of water. 1 acre foot is about 326,000 gallons. But right now, with the rain that we've received in the last, month or so, we've had increased stream flow, increased inflows into the reservoirs, and that's caused, some flooding issues downstream. And the core reservoirs are there to mitigate flooding. And so in that instance, water flowed into Lake Belton, and the lake is impounding, and the lake level has risen to a point where essentially 57% of the volume of the reservoir below full is stored in the flood control pool. So about 235,000 acre feet of water is stored, above the top of conservation. So that's what you're seeing when some of these reservoirs have a percent full that's above 100%.
So when you said they mitigate flood, what does that mean exactly?
So in the core reservoirs they're multi-purpose. So in addition to storing water for water supply, another purpose is for flood control. And so if the core reservoirs weren't, and this is just an example, if the core reservoirs weren't there in the last month or so, obviously we wouldn't have any water supply, but there would be tremendous amount of flooding along the main stem, the Little River, all the way down to the Gulf. So they actually, keep the floodwaters in the reservoir, and then they'll release them slowly over time. And so that really, when they store that water, it really mitigates, it basically does away with flood impacts, related to water downstream.
So it just holds on to that water so that
Yeah.
it's not flooding downstream?
Yes.
Is that,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, great.
And so, we're at 98% full as a total system. That's about 1.9 million acre feet of water. You will see, so at Lake Proctor, we are still in stage 4, but in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be transitioning out, rescinding stage 4, rescinding stage 3 even, and we'll be in stage 2 drought warning, which is a 10% reduction in water use. So that's really good news. We've rescinded all drought declarations at Lake Belton and the Stillhouse Hollow Georgetown subsystem. We were in stage 2 at those reservoirs earlier this year. So, we've seen a lot of improvement, in the system as a whole. As I mentioned, Proctor's still about in y'all's demonstration of the Brazos Basin now. Proctor's 55% full, but it's come up, over 25, 26% in the since the 1st of April. So we've seen a lot of benefits. We've seen benefits at Georgetown as well. Lake Georgetown, I think it's come up. Over, it's only 2.8 feet from full. It was, increased about 6.4 feet since early March. So it's about a 19% increase. So we're seeing, we continue to see this rainfall and above normal rainfall, and we'll get into that, I think, in the next slide. But it really is above normal rainfall that has caused all this water, and that's what happens. Especially in Texas, we have droughts, and then they're broken by floods, and
They are.
that's what happened.
So I think the last time we met for this brown bag, we were in a pretty severe drought. A good number of the reservoirs were under a drought or a drought, some area of drought warning watch emergency. So where have we come? So how far have we come since then in the last 30 days or so?
Yeah. So as far as the drought declarations, we've rescinded the drought declarations that we had in place at Belton and South Hollow, the Georgetown system, and then we are in the process in the next week or so rescinding some of the drought declarations at Lake Proctor down to stage 2 drought warning. So that's kind of the changes in our drought contingency plan drought stages over the last month or so. And
How much rain was that?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, see, the next slide I think goes into the. This is a slide that we use both in dry times and in wet times where you're looking at the departure from normal precipitation. And I know that may be confusing to some, but and I'll explain it. So what you're seeing in the blues and the purples and the pinks is areas and regions within the basin across the state that have received above normal rainfall over the last month. So dating back to the late April. Some areas in the pink, from Lake Limestone over into McLennan County, Coryell County, and then to Hamilton County. Those areas saw more than 8 inches above normal. And in the central part of the basin, overall, most areas of the basin receive a decent amount of rain in May. May is our wettest month. And typically in the Panhandle, you may see maybe 2 inches of rain in a normal May. In Freeport, you may see 5 inches of rain in a normal May. In McLennan County or Limestone, you may see 3.5 to 4.5 inches. But some areas actually received 20 to 25 inches of rain over the last month. And so you're talking about, 4 to 6 times more rain than what we normally see. Right. And so that rain falling on saturated soils, already, charged streams, that produces runoff. And that's what we saw as far as the lake level increases.
So one of the areas that saw the most rainfall was around Lake Limestone.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the next slide kind of speaks to that to a certain degree. Early, it was really in the afternoon. It started on Wednesday, May 1st, into Thursday morning. We saw an enormous amount of rain immediately around the reservoir and upstream, where 6 to 10 plus inches fell, really in about a 5 to 8 hour period.
That's a great deal in a short amount of time.
Yeah, inflows, and when we say inflows, that's the amount of water that is flowing into the reservoir, similar to the stream flow, but we measure that in the change in elevation over time in the reservoir, and we see an average amount of inflows, and we saw 90,000 cubic feet per second or more of inflows in the morning of May 2nd. And a cubic feet per second is, you think of it as a small beach ball.
Right.
One of those flowing past a point, one every second.
So,
and so that's
90,000
beach balls
per
second coming into Lake Limestone.
Wow.
And this did cause us, we saw an enormous amount of increased lake level rise at Lake Limestone, and that requires us to and the staff at Lake Limestone to open the Tainer gates and those to release that water and manage the lake level at safe levels so it doesn't impact the dam. So that's what we did. And those are the photos that you're seeing here. Some drone photos of the lake downstream. And then the one on the right is looking, on the lake, looking downstream. So, that's the amount, that's the water that was flowing out of the Tanner gates, and it was roughly about 78,000 cubic feet per second. So that was a new record release on the morning of May 2nd. The previous record was in May of 2009, which was about 58,000 CFS. So,
And the lake's been around since 1978.
1978.
Okay.
Yeah.
And from this picture, you can see that there is no flood control ability here. This lake is absolutely full.
Yes. And that's, so the top of the Tanner gates at Lake Limestone, when we don't have flooding like this, is at 365. So we reached a new all-time record high lake level, and we were able to do that because we opened the Tanner gates, and the top of the Tanner gates actually rises as you open them. So even though we rose above 365, we were able to control the lake level.
Okay.
I know lakeside there was enormous amount of damage, I think, in the docks and whatnot, but the reservoir was not designed to control flooding. It was designed to store water, and we have to do what we do to manage the lake level and protect the dam. We did see all-time high stream flow and river heights downstream as this water moved downstream. There was also an enormous amount of water and rain that fell downstream of Lake Limestone as well that produced flooding. But it was definitely a record event, a historic event for the Upper Navasota River watershed.
See. So with all of this rain, what are we expecting for the rest of the summer? Are we going to continue to have this rain? Are we going to get dry again? What's going to happen?
So this is one of the, we do present these outlooks, both temperature and precipitation. This is produced by the National Weather Service and NOAA on a monthly basis. I think this came out in May 16th. From a temperature standpoint, they're saying above normal for June, and then also above normal for the June, July, August summer outlook. For precipitation, it's a little bit different. In mid-May, a couple of weeks ago, they basically said that most of the basin over to the west could see increased probability for below normal precipitation. We're not seeing that yet because we have rain chances going into the weekend and into next week. Looking at the precipitation outlook for June, July, August, it's kind of we don't really know what's going to happen. Equal chances. So the green is probability for above normal rainfall, the browns and tans for below normal, and then the white areas is equal chances. They really don't know.
Okay.
I do know that National Hurricane Center is predicting a much above hurricane season for the Atlantic basin. So, there's already warm temperatures, sea surface temperatures in the Gulf and the Atlantic. And then we are possibly transitioning from El Nino into La Nina, and that is conducive to hurricanes as far as the upper level winds and how those hurricanes form, that it's supposed to be conducive. The other thing that La Nina brings, and when we say El Nino and La Nina, we're talking about the sea surface temperatures in the equatorial Pacific, and a lot of people are like, well, why do we have to care about that? But it really does, especially in La Nina. A lot of times it does bring drier weather.
So it's possible that
we could, but there are other times in La Nina years that we've had rain events. So, time will tell, but we are supposed to transition into that La Nina period, later this summer and potentially into early fall. So we'll be watching that. But in the near term, in the real near term, I think we're seeing some rain right now, and we'll see some rain in the near term this weekend and, into early next week. So, June is still a wet month. And so we could still continue to see a lot of rain and flood events, even into June. So,
Okay. So our lakes are full, pretty much. We're doing really well with how much water supply we have available. So a lot of people may think that with all of this water, we don't need to worry about drought conditions any longer.
yeah, well, I mean, I think it's a good idea for everybody to always think about water conservation. Water conservation are the things that you do now, whether it's wet or dry, to be cognizant of water use, whether it's, right now it's a great time to, plant landscaping,
Sure.
but selecting those plants, that could go towards conservation. What those choices, the way you use water outside, the way you use water inside, whether it's wet or dry, can help, extend supplies if we are moving into a drought.
Right.
So, everything that we can do now and when it's dry is important.
It's a good thing.
It's a
So
good
we need to
thing.
continue
Yeah.
on with water conservation efforts.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time today. I'm wondering if we have any questions. James, do you see anything? No questions today? Well, wonderful. Okay. Well, in the meantime, thank you all for joining us. If you do find that you have a question that you would like to ask us, we'd be happy to answer that for you. Just send us an email at information@brazos.org and we'll be happy to answer your questions. And we will look forward to seeing you at our next Brown Bag, which will be in about a month and a half. Thank you for joining us today.